Welcome to Brain Before Bed. It's lovely to have you here tonight. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you are right now. Are you nestled in bed with the covers pulled up softly around you? Perhaps you're sitting in a favourite chair where you've spent countless quiet evenings. Maybe you're in a space that feels safe and familiar, where the world feels just a little bit softer than it does during the day. Wherever you are, I hope you're comfortable, settled, and ready to let your mind wander gently through memory and time. If you enjoy these quiet explorations and would like to hear more, a like and subscribe really helps this sleepy little channel continue. And to those of you already here, already listening, thank you. Your presence means more than you know. Tonight, we're going to drift through something both universal and deeply personal. Something that touches every human being who has ever lived long enough to remember. We're going to explore nostalgia, that peculiar warmth that arises when you remember moments from your past. That gentle ache, that soft sweetness, that feeling of being transported back to a time that no longer exists except in the quiet chambers of your mind. We'll wander through the psychology of why nostalgia feels the way it does. Why certain memories seem to glow with a golden light. Why remembering can bring both comfort and a tender kind of longing. Why the past sometimes feels more vivid, more meaningful, more real than the present moment. And why, when you're tired or uncertain, or simply need a moment of peace, your mind so often reaches backward, finding solace in what has already been. This isn't a lesson or a lecture. There's no need to remember any of this, no test waiting at the end. We're simply going to let these ideas wash over you like gentle waves, allowing them to settle wherever they need to settle, or to drift away if that's what feels right. If you fall asleep before we finish, that's exactly as it should be. If you stay awake and listen, that's perfect too. There's no wrong way to be here. So let your body sink a little deeper into whatever is holding you. Let your breath slow just slightly, not because you're trying, but because it wants to. Let your mind begin to soften at the edges, allowing thoughts to become less urgent, less demanding. And let's begin to wander together through the landscape of memory, through the gentle science of why nostalgia feels so achingly, beautifully good. There's a particular quality to nostalgia that sets it apart from other forms of remembering. When you recall a fact, something you learned in school or read in a book, the memory feels neutral, informational. It doesn't carry much emotional weight. You remember that the capital of France is Paris, and the memory simply sits there, useful but unremarkable. When you remember something practical, like where you left your keys or what you need from the store, the memory serves a function, helps you navigate the present, then fades back into the background. But nostalgia is different. Nostalgic memories arrive with a feeling attached, a particular emotional quality that colours everything. When you remember your grandmother's kitchen, you don't just recall the layout of the room or the colour of the cabinets. You remember the feeling of being there, the warmth, the safety, the particular quality of light filtering through the curtains, the smell of something baking, the sound of her voice, the sense that you were exactly where you belonged. The memory comes with texture, with atmosphere, with a feeling that settles in your chest like a gentle weight. This emotional dimension is what makes nostalgia what it is. Without the feeling, it would just be memory. But with the feeling, it becomes something more. It becomes a bridge between who you were then and who you are now. A connection across time that reminds you of continuity, of a self that has remained somehow constant even as everything else has changed. Research in psychology suggests that nostalgia may serve important psychological functions. It's not just a pleasant indulgence or a sentimental wallowing in the past. It appears to be something your mind does naturally, something that can offer benefit. When people experience nostalgia, they often report feeling more connected to others, more positive about themselves, more certain that their life has meaning and continuity. The past, when recalled with this particular warmth, can affirm that you've lived, that you've mattered, that your experiences have been real and significant. This affirmation can be especially comforting during times of uncertainty or transition. When the present feels unstable or the future seems unclear, the past offers something solid. It has already happened. It cannot be taken away. Whatever you experienced, whatever moments brought you joy or comfort or a sense of belonging, those moments existed. They were real. And in remembering them, you reconnect with a version of yourself who experienced those things, a version who felt those feelings, who knew that particular kind of happiness or peace. There's a gentleness to this process, a softness. Nostalgia doesn't demand anything from you. It doesn't ask you to change or improve or become something different. It simply invites you to remember, to revisit, to spend a little time with what has been. And in that remembering, you often find a kind of rest, a temporary reprieve from the demands of the present moment. The word nostalgia itself has an interesting history. It comes from two Greek words, nostos, meaning homecoming, and algos, meaning pain or ache. Originally, it was considered a medical condition, a kind of homesickness so severe it could cause physical symptoms. Soldiers far from home would experience intense longing for their native lands, and this longing was thought to be a form of melancholy, something to be treated or cured. But over time, our understanding has shifted. Nostalgia is no longer viewed as a disorder or a problem. Instead, it's recognized as a natural psychological process, one that most people experience regularly and that seems to serve adaptive purposes. The ache is still there, that gentle longing, but it's understood now as part of what makes nostalgia meaningful. The sweetness and the sadness exist together, creating a complex emotional experience that feels rich rather than painful. This bittersweet quality is one of nostalgia's most distinctive features. When you remember a happy time from your past, you feel the happiness of that memory, but you also feel the distance. You're aware that the moment has passed, that you can't return to it physically, that time has moved forward and taken you with it. There's a tenderness in this awareness, a recognition of impermanence, of the way things change and cannot be held on to. But rather than being purely sad, this recognition often feels peaceful, almost beautiful. It's the acknowledgement that things were good, that you had something worth remembering, even if you can't have it again in quite the same way. Some people worry that nostalgia is a form of avoidance, a way of escaping the present by retreating into the past. And it's true that spending too much time looking backward can sometimes interfere with engaging fully with what's happening now. But in moderation, nostalgia doesn't seem to function as escape. Instead, it seems to provide a kind of emotional nourishment, a way of reminding yourself of your own history, your own capacity for joy and connection. And this reminder can actually help you engage more fully with the present, because it confirms that positive experiences are possible, that you've known them before and can know them again. When you're lying in bed at night, when the day has quieted and your mind begins to wander, it's natural for nostalgic memories to surface. The darkness, the stillness, the softening of external demands, all of this creates space for the past to emerge. You might find yourself thinking about childhood summers, about friends you haven't seen in years, about places you used to live, about moments that seemed ordinary at the time, but now feel precious in retrospect. These memories arrive unbidden, drifting up from somewhere deep, and they bring with them a particular kind of comfort. They remind you that you've lived, that you've had experiences, that you contain within yourself all of these moments, all of these versions of who you've been. And in this remembering, there's often a softening, a gentling of whatever tension or worry you've been carrying. The past, in its golden glow, offers reassurance. It reminds you that time passes, that difficult moments eventually give way to easier ones, that you've navigated change before and can navigate it again. It offers perspective, a sense of your life as something longer and larger than any single day or week. And this perspective can be deeply soothing, allowing you to rest a little more easily, trusting that whatever you're facing now is just one chapter in a much longer story. So, as we continue to explore nostalgia together, let yourself remain open to whatever memories might arise. There's no need to chase them or hold on to them tightly. Just let them come and go naturally, like clouds drifting across an evening sky. Notice the feelings they bring, the warmth or tenderness or gentle sadness, and allow those feelings to be exactly as they are. They're part of your experience, part of what makes you human, part of the rich emotional landscape that you carry within you always. To understand why nostalgia feels the way it does, it helps to understand a little about how memory works. Memory is not like a video recording, faithfully capturing every detail of what happened. It's more like a reconstruction, a process of assembling pieces each time you recall something. Your brain stores information in networks with different aspects of an experience. The sights, sounds, smells, emotions, context, distributed across different regions. When you remember something, your brain brings these pieces back together, weaving them into a coherent experience that feels like reliving the original moment. But this reconstruction is not perfect. Each time you remember something, you're not accessing the original experience directly. You're accessing the last time you remembered it, which was itself a reconstruction. Over time, memories can shift, details can blur or sharpen, emotions can become more or less intense. Memories are living things in a sense, changing subtly each time they're recalled, shaped by your current mood, your current context, your current understanding of yourself and your life. This malleability is not a flaw. It's actually what makes memory so useful. If memories were fixed and unchanging, they would be less adaptive. You wouldn't be able to learn from experience, to integrate new understanding, to see past events in new lights. The fact that memories can shift allows them to remain relevant, to continue informing how you navigate the world, even as you yourself change and grow. But it also means that nostalgic memories, those warm and glowing recollections of the past, are not necessarily accurate representations of what actually happened. They're your current reconstruction of the past, filtered through time, through mood, through the particular lens you're using to look backward. And often, this reconstruction is softer, warmer, more positive than the original experience might have been. This is not dishonesty or delusion. It's simply how memory naturally works. Your brain doesn't store everything. It prioritizes certain information, emphasizes certain aspects, lets other details fade. And when you recall something nostalgically, your brain tends to emphasize the positive elements, the warmth, the connection, the moments of joy or peace. The difficulties, the frustrations, the mundane stretches of boredom or discomfort, these often recede, becoming less prominent in the reconstructed memory. There's a psychological term for this tendency, the fading affect bias. It refers to the observation that negative emotions associated with memories tend to fade more quickly than positive emotions. Over time, the sting of difficult experiences softens, while the warmth of positive experiences often remains or even intensifies. This isn't universal. Traumatic memories can sometimes maintain their emotional charge for very long periods, but in general, the natural trajectory of memory is toward a softening of negative feeling and a preservation of positive feeling. This bias serves a purpose. If you held on to every negative emotion with the same intensity you felt it originally, you would be overwhelmed, unable to move forward, weighed down by accumulated distress. The fading of negative emotion allows you to learn from difficult experiences without being trapped by them. You can remember what happened, extract whatever wisdom or understanding the experience offered, and let the acute pain recede into something more manageable. Meanwhile, the preservation of positive emotion serves to remind you of what's possible, what you've experienced, what brings you joy or comfort or a sense of meaning. These positive memories become resources, touchstones you can return to when you need reassurance or hope. They remind you that life contains goodness, that you've known happiness, that pleasant experiences are part of your history and therefore part of what you can expect from your future. So when you remember your grandmother's kitchen with such warmth, when the memory feels suffused with golden light, part of what's happening is this natural process of emotional filtering. You're not inventing the warmth, it was there. You did feel safe and loved in that space, but you're also not remembering the full complexity of the experience. The times you were bored, or the day you broke a dish and felt embarrassed, or the afternoon you wanted to be somewhere else, these moments are there too, but they're quieter now, less prominent. What remains most vivid is the feeling, the atmosphere, the sense of being held and cared for. And this is perfect. This is exactly what nostalgia is meant to do. It's not meant to be a historical record, accurate in every detail. It's meant to be an emotional resource, a way of accessing feelings that nourish you, that remind you of connection and belonging and the possibility of contentment. The fact that your memories are somewhat idealized doesn't diminish their value. If anything, it enhances it, because what you're left with is the essence of the experience, the emotional truth of it, stripped of the clutter and complexity that surrounded it at the time. The process of memory formation begins with encoding, the moment when an experience is initially registered in your brain. Not everything you experience gets encoded. Your brain is constantly filtering, deciding what's worth paying attention to and what can be ignored. Novelty tends to capture attention. Things that are new or unexpected are more likely to be remembered. Strong emotion also enhances encoding. Experiences that make you feel something intensely, whether positive or negative, tend to be remembered more vividly than neutral experiences. This is why your most vivid memories are often of significant moments. Your first day of school, your first kiss, the day you moved to a new city, the moment you heard important news. These experiences stood out at the time, demanded your attention, engaged your emotions, and so they were encoded more deeply, with more detail, more context, more sensory information. But encoding is just the first step. Once a memory is encoded, it needs to be consolidated, a process by which the memory becomes more stable, more integrated into your existing knowledge and understanding. Consolidation happens largely during sleep, which is one reason why sleep is so important for memory. While you rest, your brain is busy organizing the day's experiences, deciding what to keep and what to discard, linking new information to old, strengthening connections between different pieces of knowledge. This consolidation process is not neutral. Your brain doesn't just file everything away indiscriminately. It prioritizes based on perceived importance, emotional significance, relevance to your goals and concerns. Memories that seem meaningful, that connect to your sense of self or your understanding of the world, are more likely to be consolidated strongly. Memories that seem trivial or irrelevant are more likely to fade quickly. And then there's retrieval, the process of bringing a memory back into conscious awareness. This is where things get particularly interesting. Retrieval is not a passive process, like pulling a file from a drawer. It's an active reconstruction, a creative act. Your brain uses cues, bits of information in your current environment or your current thoughts, to trigger associated memories. A smell might remind you of a place. A song might call up a specific day. A photograph might bring back a whole cascade of feelings and images. But the memory that emerges is not an exact copy of what was stored. It's influenced by your current state, your current mood, your current beliefs and understanding. If you're feeling happy, you're more likely to remember happy times. If you're feeling lonely, you're more likely to remember moments of connection. Your present shapes your past in this subtle but powerful way, colouring your memories with the emotional tone of right now. This is partly why nostalgia tends to arise when you're in need of comfort or reassurance. When you're feeling uncertain or disconnected or weary, your mind naturally reaches for memories that offer the opposite feelings. Memories of times when you felt secure, connected, at ease. These memories are always there, stored in the networks of your brain, but they become more accessible when you need them most. It's as though your mind knows what you need and offers it to you, bringing forward the memories that can provide solace. There's also something called the reminiscence bump, a fascinating pattern observed in memory research. When people are asked to recall memories from throughout their lives, they tend to remember a disproportionate number from adolescence and early adulthood, roughly from ages 10 to 30. Memories from this period are often more vivid, more detailed, more emotionally charged than memories from other times of life. There are several theories about why this happens. One is that adolescence and early adulthood are periods of intense identity formation, when you're figuring out who you are, what you value, what kind of life you want to live. Experiences during this time are highly significant because they're shaping your sense of self, and so they're encoded more deeply. Another theory is that this is a period of many firsts: first love, first job, first time living independently, and these novel experiences naturally stand out. A third theory is simply that this is a time of high cognitive and neural activity, when your brain is particularly good at forming and retaining memories. Whatever the reason, this reminiscence bump means that when people experience nostalgia, they're often drawing on memories from this particular period of life. The music you loved as a teenager, the friendships you formed in your early 20s, the places you lived when you were first out on your own, these memories tend to have an outsized presence in your nostalgic recollections. They carry a particular vividness, a particular emotional weight, and returning to them can feel like touching something essential, something that helped make you who you are. But nostalgia is not limited to this period. You can feel nostalgic for any time in your past, any experience that mattered to you, any moment that brought you a feeling worth revisiting. Childhood memories can be deeply nostalgic, carrying you back to a time of simplicity, safety, wonder. More recent memories can be nostalgic too, as you look back on a vacation from last year, a conversation from last month, a moment from last week that now feels distant, precious, worth holding on to. The key ingredient is not when the memory is from, but how it feels when you recall it. If the memory brings warmth, connection, a sense of being part of something meaningful, then it functions as nostalgia. It offers that particular blend of sweetness and longing, that sense of having experienced something good, something you're grateful for, even as you recognize that it belongs to the past. And in feeling this, in allowing yourself to be touched by these memories, you're not living in the past or avoiding the present. You're simply being human, allowing your mind to do what minds naturally do, which is to move through time, connecting past to present, finding threads of continuity, drawing on what has been to inform and nourish what is. This is healthy, adaptive, normal. It's part of how you make sense of your life, how you maintain a coherent sense of self across the years, how you find meaning in the accumulated experiences that make up your history. So as you rest here now, as your mind perhaps begins to wander toward memories of your own, know that this wandering is good. It's your mind caring for you, offering you what you need, reminding you of who you are and who you've been. Let the memories come softly, without forcing them. Let them bring whatever feelings they bring, warmth or tenderness or a gentle ache. And trust that in this quiet remembering, something is being restored, something is being nourished, something is settling into place. One of the most striking aspects of nostalgia is how it affects your emotional state in the present moment. When you spend time with nostalgic memories, when you allow yourself to remember with warmth and tenderness, something shifts in how you feel right now. The past reaches forward, touching the present, and in that touch, there's often a softening of whatever difficulty or tension you've been carrying. Psychological research has explored this effect in various ways. Studies have found that when people are prompted to recall nostalgic memories, they report feeling more positive, more socially connected, more certain about their sense of self. They feel less lonely, less anxious, less adrift. The memories seem to function as a kind of emotional anchor, grounding them in something stable and meaningful even when the present moment feels uncertain. This makes sense when you consider what nostalgic memories often contain. They're typically memories of connection, of belonging, of times when you felt part of something larger than yourself. You remember family gatherings, childhood friendships, community celebrations, moments of intimacy and shared experience. These memories remind you that you are not alone, that you've been held and seen and valued by others, that you're part of a network of relationships that extends through time. Even if those relationships have changed or ended, even if the people you remember are no longer in your life or are no longer alive, the memory of connection remains. And this memory continues to provide a sense of belonging. It tells you that you've mattered to someone, that you've been loved, that you've had a place in the world. And this knowledge, carried forward from the past, can ease feelings of isolation in the present. You're reminded that connection is possible, that you've experienced it before, that it's part of your history and therefore part of what you're capable of experiencing again. Nostalgic memories also tend to contain moments of simpler times, or at least times that seem simpler in retrospect. Childhood is a common source of nostalgia, partly because childhood, for many people, carried fewer responsibilities and less awareness of the world's complexity. You were cared for by others, your needs were met, your concerns were smaller. You could spend an afternoon playing without worrying about work or bills or global events. The world felt more manageable, more comprehensible, more safe. Of course, childhood is not simple for everyone, and even for those who had relatively easy childhoods, there were difficulties and fears that felt very real at the time. But memory tends to soften these edges, and what remains is often a sense of innocence, possibility, freedom. You remember the feeling of summer days that seem to stretch on forever, of discovering new things, of approaching the world with curiosity rather than wariness. And this remembered simplicity can be deeply comforting when your current life feels complicated or overwhelming. You're reminded that you've known ease, that you've experienced moments when you weren't carrying the weight you're carrying now. And even though you can't return to that simplicity, even though growing up means taking on complexity and responsibility, the memory of it can provide perspective. It reminds you that the heaviness you feel is not all there is, that underneath the weight there's still a you who knows how to feel light, who remembers what it's like to approach life with openness and wonder. There's also something about nostalgia that seems to affirm continuity. When you remember moments from your past, you're reminded that you've been here before, that you've lived through days and weeks and years, that your life has duration and depth. This can be especially meaningful during times of change or transition, when your present circumstances feel unfamiliar or when you're questioning who you are or where you're going. The past says you've been someone before, you've had experiences, you've navigated other transitions and other uncertainties. It reminds you that change is not new, that you've moved through different phases of life and remained yourself through all of them. There's a thread connecting who you were, then to who you are now, and nostalgia is one way of touching that thread, of feeling the continuity even as you acknowledge the change. This sense of continuity can be grounding. It counters the feeling that you're floating untethered, that you don't know who you are anymore, that everything familiar has fallen away. The nostalgic memory says, "No, look, here you are. You've always been here, changing, yes, but still recognizably you." And this recognition can be deeply stabilizing, allowing you to trust that you'll continue forward, that you'll remain yourself even as you move into whatever comes next. Nostalgia can also provide a kind of emotional regulation, a way of managing difficult feelings in the present moment. When you're feeling sad or anxious or overwhelmed, turning toward a warm memory can offer temporary relief. The memory brings positive emotion with it, and this positive emotion can help balance out or soften the negative emotion you've been experiencing. It's not that the difficult feeling disappears entirely, but it becomes more bearable, less all-consuming. There's space for both, the difficulty and the warmth, and in that space you can breathe a little more easily. This is not avoidance, at least not in a harmful sense. You're not pretending the difficulty doesn't exist or refusing to face it. You're simply giving yourself a moment of respite, allowing yourself to remember that difficult feelings are not the only feelings you're capable of experiencing. You've known joy, peace, contentment, love, and these feelings are just as much a part of your emotional reality as the difficult ones. Nostalgia reminds you of this, restoring balance, offering perspective. Some people worry that nostalgia makes them too focused on the past, that they're somehow betraying the present by dwelling on what's already gone. But the relationship between past and present is not competitive. Remembering the past does not diminish the present, any more than thinking about tomorrow diminishes today. Your life is a continuous whole, extending backward and forward, and being aware of that whole, moving through it with attention and care, is not a problem. It's simply being present to the fullness of your experience. In fact, research suggests that nostalgia can actually help you engage more fully with the present. When you're reminded of positive experiences from your past, when you reconnect with feelings of belonging and meaning, you're often more able to approach current challenges with resilience and hope. The past provides evidence that good things are possible, that you've known them before, and this evidence can give you courage to keep going, to remain open, to trust that difficult moments will pass and easier ones will come. There's a kind of wisdom in nostalgia, a knowing that comes from having lived. When you look back over the years, you can see patterns, cycles, the way things have changed and changed again. You can see that what felt permanent at the time was actually temporary, that what seemed impossible eventually happened, that you've survived things you weren't sure you could survive. This perspective is valuable. It tempers fear, soothes anxiety, offers reassurance. And perhaps most importantly, nostalgia reminds you that your life has contained goodness. Whatever difficulties you've faced, whatever losses you've endured, whatever regrets you carry, there have also been moments of beauty, connection, joy. The fact that you can look back and find things worth remembering, experiences that still bring warmth decades later, this is evidence that your life has had meaning, that you've lived in ways that mattered. And this evidence is not nothing. It's everything, really. It's the substance of a life well lived, measured not in achievements or possessions, but in moments, in feelings, in connections that continue to resonate long after they've passed. So when nostalgia arises, when you find yourself remembering with that particular warmth, let it be. Don't push it away out of some belief that you should be more focused on the present or the future. The present and future are here too. They're not going anywhere. But right now, in this quiet moment, the past is reaching forward, offering you something, and it's okay to receive it. To let the memory wash over you, to feel what it brings, to rest in the knowledge that you've lived, that you've experienced things worth remembering, that your history is rich with moments that still glow when you turn your attention toward them. And in this resting, in this gentle remembering, something often shifts. The present moment becomes softer, more bearable, imbued with a sense of gratitude for what has been and a quiet hope for what might still come. Nostalgia does this work without effort, without striving, simply by being what it is, a bridge between then and now. A reminder that you are more than this single moment, that you contain multitudes of experiences, all of them part of who you are, all of them contributing to the richness of your inner life. Certain memories seem to glow brighter than others, not because they were objectively more important or more pleasant at the time, but because they've taken on a particular quality in retrospect. These are the memories that feel almost golden, bathed in a warm light that makes everything seem more vivid, more meaningful, more precious than perhaps it actually was. And there are reasons why some memories acquire this luminous quality, while others remain more neutral or fade away entirely. One factor is emotional intensity. Experiences that made you feel something strongly, whether joy or wonder or deep contentment, tend to be encoded more richly. Your brain pays attention to emotion, treats it as a signal that something significant is happening, and allocates more resources to processing and storing the experience. So the day you climbed a mountain and felt overwhelmed by the beauty of the view, or the evening you sat with friends around a campfire feeling perfectly at ease, or the morning you woke up in a new place and felt excited about possibility, these experiences are likely to be remembered vividly because they engaged your emotions fully. But intensity alone doesn't guarantee that a memory will become nostalgic. Plenty of intense experiences are not remembered with warmth. Moments of fear, anger, or sadness can be just as emotionally engaging, and these are often remembered too, but they don't typically produce the golden glow of nostalgia. What makes a memory nostalgic is not just the strength of the emotion, but its quality, the fact that it was a positive emotion, something that felt good, that affirmed life, that connected you to something beyond yourself. Another factor is novelty. First experiences tend to stand out. Your first time riding a bicycle, your first concert, your first time travelling alone, these firsts are memorable, partly because they were new and novelty captures attention. But they're also memorable because they often carried a sense of discovery, of expanding your world, of becoming capable of something you hadn't been capable of before. There's a richness to these moments, a feeling of possibility and growth that makes them glow in memory. As you get older, firsts become less frequent. You've done more things, seen more places, accumulated more experiences, and so fewer things feel truly novel. This is one reason why childhood and adolescence loom so large in nostalgic memory, because those were years full of firsts. Every experience felt fresh, every discovery felt significant. But even later in life, when novelty is rarer, certain experiences can still have that quality of discovery, that sense of encountering something new and meaningful. And these experiences, whenever they occur, tend to be remembered with particular fondness. Significance also plays a role. Memories that connect to important life events, to turning points or milestones, tend to be more vivid and more likely to be recalled nostalgically. Your wedding day, the birth of a child, graduation, moving into your first apartment, these are moments that carry weight because they represent transitions, thresholds crossed, new chapters beginning. They're markers in your personal history, and returning to them in memory allows you to trace the arc of your life, to see how you've moved from one phase to another. But nostalgic memories are not always of big events. Often, they're of small, quiet moments that wouldn't seem significant to anyone else. An afternoon spent reading in your favourite chair, a conversation with a friend over coffee, walking home from school on a spring day. These moments might have been ordinary at the time, just another day in a long string of days. But something about them resonated. Something settled into your mind as worth keeping, and now, years later, they shine with a particular light. Part of what makes these small moments precious in retrospect is their ordinariness. They represent the texture of daily life, the rhythms and rituals that gave structure and meaning to your days. In the moment, you might not have recognized them as special, but looking back, you see that they were. They were the substance of your life, the small pleasures and simple contentments that added up to a sense of being home, being held, being part of something steady and reliable. There's a bittersweet recognition that comes with this. You realize that you were happy without knowing it. You were living through good times without stopping to appreciate them fully because they seemed so ordinary, so likely to continue. Only now, from the distance of time, can you see how precious they were. This realization can bring a gentle ache, a wish that you could go back and savor those moments more fully, live them with more awareness, hold on to them more tightly. But even this ache is part of nostalgia's gift. It teaches you to pay attention now, to notice the small good things in your present life, to recognize that the moments you're living right now might someday glow in memory the same way those past moments do. It cultivates gratitude, not as a forced practice, but as a natural response to the awareness that everything is temporary, everything is precious, everything is worth noticing because it will eventually become memory. The sensory details of nostalgic memories also contribute to their golden quality. Memories that include vivid sensory information, the smell of rain on pavement, the taste of your mother's cooking, the sound of a particular song, these memories feel more real, more immediate, more alive. The sensory details act as anchors, grounding the memory in physical experience, making it feel less abstract and more tangible. This is why certain triggers can bring nostalgic memories flooding back with surprising intensity. You catch a whiff of a particular perfume, and suddenly you're transported to a specific place and time, feeling exactly what you felt then. You hear a song you haven't heard in years, and the memory of where you were when you first loved that song comes rushing back, complete with details you didn't know you still remembered. These triggered memories often feel more authentic, more powerful, because they arrive unbidden, without conscious effort. You weren't trying to remember. The memory simply emerged, called forth by a sensory cue that your brain recognized and responded to automatically. The brain's ability to link sensory experiences with emotional memories is quite remarkable. The olfactory system, which processes smell, has direct connections to brain regions involved in emotion and memory, which may be why scents are particularly powerful triggers for nostalgic recall. But any sense can serve this function. A particular texture under your fingertips, the the quality of light at a certain time of day, the feeling of cool air on your skin. Any of these can become tied to a memory, and encountering them again can unlock that memory years or even decades later. This sensory linking means that your memories are not just stored as abstract information. They're embedded in your physical experience of the world, woven into the fabric of how you perceive and interact with your environment. This gives memories a kind of embodied quality, a feeling of being grounded in real, lived experience rather than just existing as thoughts or ideas. And this embodied quality is part of what makes nostalgic memories feel so vivid and so real, even though you're not actually back in that time or place. There's also something about the passage of time itself that seems to enhance certain memories. Distance can provide clarity, allowing you to see patterns and meanings that weren't visible when you were in the middle of the experience. You can understand now what you were too young or too caught up to understand then. You can appreciate qualities of a person or a place that you took for granted at the time. You can recognize the significance of moments that seemed mundane when they were happening. This retrospective understanding adds depth to nostalgic memories. They're not just about what happened, but about what you now understand about what happened. The memory becomes layered with insight, with recognition, with a kind of wisdom that only comes from having lived forward and then looked back. And this layering makes the memory richer, more complex, more meaningful than the original experience might have been. At the same time, the distance of time can also idealize memories, smoothing away difficulties and complications that were very real at the time. You might remember a relationship with warmth and longing, forgetting or minimizing the conflicts and frustrations that also characterized it. You might remember a place as paradise, overlooking the ways it was actually quite ordinary or even problematic. You might remember a period of your life as simple and carefree, forgetting the anxieties and uncertainties you felt during that time. This idealization is not necessarily dishonest or unhealthy. It's simply part of how memory works, emphasizing certain elements and de-emphasizing others. And in many ways, this selectivity serves you well. It allows you to extract the essence of an experience, the parts that brought you joy or comfort or meaning, without being weighed down by the full complexity of what actually happened. You're left with something nourishing, something that can sustain you, and that's valuable, even if it's not a complete or perfectly accurate representation. The golden quality of certain memories, then, is a product of many factors working together. The emotional intensity of the original experience, the novelty or significance it carried, the sensory richness of the details, the passage of time that provides both distance and understanding, and the natural process of memory that emphasizes positive elements and softens negative ones. All of these contribute to creating memories that glow, that feel special, that you return to again and again for comfort and connection. And these glowing memories become part of your inner landscape, landmarks in the territory of your mind. They're places you can visit when you need to, refuges you can turn to when the present feels difficult. They remind you of who you've been, what you valued, what has brought you joy. They're evidence of a life lived, of experiences accumulated, of moments that mattered enough to be remembered. And in remembering them, you honor them, you keep them alive, you allow them to continue nourishing you long after the original moments have passed into history. So when a memory arrives with that golden glow, receive it gently. Notice the warmth it brings, the feelings it evokes, the way it connects you to a version of yourself who lived through that moment and carried it forward to share with you now. These memories are gifts, offerings from your past self to your present self, and they deserve to be welcomed, appreciated, held softly in the spacious awareness of your mind. Sometimes when you consider nostalgia, when you feel that pull toward the past, There's an underlying question that arises. Why does the past so often feel safer, warmer, more appealing than the present? Why do you find yourself thinking, things were better then, even when you know intellectually that the past had its own difficulties and uncertainties? What is it about memory that seems to wrap past experiences in comfort, making them feel like a refuge from the demands and challenges of now? Part of the answer lies in what psychologists call the retrospective bias, the tendency to view the past more favorably than the present. When you're living through a moment, you're dealing with all its complexity in real time. You're facing uncertainties, making decisions without knowing how they'll turn out, managing emotions as they arise, navigating ambiguities and unknowns. The present moment is always somewhat messy because it's unfinished, still unfolding, not yet resolved into a clear narrative with a known outcome. But when you look back at the past, you're seeing a finished story. You know how things turned out. The uncertainties have been resolved, the decisions have been made, the outcomes are known. This removes a layer of anxiety that was present at the time. You no longer have to wonder what will happen, because it already happened. This knowledge makes the past feel more stable, more secure, more comprehensible than the present can ever feel while you're living through it. There's comfort in this stability. The past cannot change anymore, cannot surprise you anymore, cannot demand anything more from you. It simply is, complete and settled, a known quantity. And when the present feels uncertain or overwhelming, when you're facing challenges that feel too large or changes that feel too rapid, the stability of the past becomes appealing. It represents solid ground, a place to stand when everything else feels like it's shifting beneath your feet. The past also benefits from narrative coherence that the present lacks. When you remember a period of your life, you unconsciously organize it into a story with themes, patterns, meaning. You emphasize certain events and downplay others, creating a through line that makes sense, that shows how one thing led to another, that reveals the arc of development or change. This narrative structure makes the past feel meaningful, purposeful, like it was all leading somewhere. But your present life doesn't have this coherence yet. You're in the middle of the story and you don't know where it's going or what it means. The events of your days don't yet fit into a clear pattern, don't yet reveal their significance. Everything feels more random, more chaotic, more difficult to make sense of. Only later, when you can look back and see how things connected, will your current experiences take on the kind of meaning that your past experiences now seem to have. This difference in how you experience past and present creates a kind of illusion that the past was somehow better, more meaningful, more coherent than the present. But the past wasn't actually that way when you were living through it. It felt just as messy, just as uncertain, just as difficult to make sense of as your present life feels now. The coherence, the meaning, the sense of things fitting together, these are qualities you've added in retrospect, through the process of remembering and organizing and narrating your experiences. Understanding this can be helpful. It suggests that your present life, as confusing or overwhelming as it might feel right now, will eventually take on the same kind of coherence and meaning when you look back at it from the future. The experiences you're having now, as difficult or unclear as they seem, are being woven into the fabric of your life story. And someday, perhaps years from now, you might look back at this very period with nostalgia, seeing meanings and patterns and connections that are invisible to you right now. There's also something about the past that represents a kind of psychological safety because it's already survived. Whatever difficulties or challenges characterized that time, you made it through. You're here now, proof that you navigated whatever came your way, that you endured, that you found ways to cope and adapt and continue forward. This knowledge is reassuring. The past is evidence that you're capable of surviving difficulty, that you've done it before and can presumably do it again. The present, by contrast, doesn't yet carry this assurance. You're in the midst of challenges now, and you don't yet know for certain that you'll successfully navigate them. There's always some uncertainty, some anxiety about whether you're equal to what's being asked of you. Only time will tell, and in the meantime, you have to trust, have to hope, have to keep moving forward without knowing for sure that everything will work out. The past, then, offers a kind of emotional security that the present cannot provide. It's a space where everything has already been resolved, where you've already proven yourself capable, where the anxieties that surrounded those experiences have been resolved into the calm certainty of having made it through. And this security is deeply comforting, especially during times when your present feels insecure, when you're facing new challenges or experiencing losses or navigating transitions that feel destabilizing. Some people find that nostalgia intensifies during difficult periods of life. When things are going well, when you're feeling confident and engaged with the present, you might think less about the past. But when things are hard, when you're struggling or grieving or feeling lost, the past becomes more appealing, more present in your thoughts. This makes sense. You're reaching for comfort, for reassurance, for evidence that you've known better times and can know them again. The past provides this, offering a refuge, a reminder that difficulty is not all there is. But there's a balance to be found here. While nostalgia can provide comfort and perspective, spending too much time focused on the past can sometimes interfere with engaging fully with the present. If you're constantly comparing your current life unfavorably to how things used to be, if you're convinced that the best times are behind you, if you're unable to find meaning or satisfaction in what you're experiencing now, then nostalgia might be functioning more as escape than as nourishment. The healthiest relationship with nostalgia seems to be one where you can move fluidly between past, present, and future. You can remember with warmth and gratitude, drawing comfort from what has been. You can engage with what is, meeting your current life with attention and care, even when it's difficult. And you can look forward with hope, trusting that good experiences are still possible, that your life is still unfolding, that there are moments ahead worth living toward. The past doesn't have to be better than the present for it to be meaningful, and the present doesn't have to be perfect for it to be worth inhabiting fully. One way to maintain this balance is to bring the qualities of nostalgic awareness into your experience of the present. When you remember the past nostalgically, you're often noticing small details, appreciating simple pleasures, feeling grateful for moments of connection or beauty. You can do this with your present life too. You can notice the warmth of sunlight, the taste of your morning coffee, the sound of someone's laughter, the feeling of being exactly where you are. You can recognize that these ordinary moments might someday be the ones you look back on with longing, and this recognition can help you appreciate them now while they're still happening. This doesn't mean forcing gratitude or pretending everything is wonderful when it's not. It simply means allowing yourself to notice the good things that are present alongside the difficult ones, recognizing that your life contains both, that the difficulties don't cancel out the moments of ease or beauty or connection. And in noticing these good things now, you're actually creating the memories that will sustain you in the future, building a reservoir of positive experiences that you can draw on when you need them. The comfort you find in the past, then, is not just about what happened then. It's about knowing that positive experiences are possible, that you're capable of feeling joy and connection and contentment. And this knowing can inform how you move through your present, giving you permission to seek out and appreciate good experiences when they occur, to allow yourself moments of rest and pleasure, even when there's work to be done, to trust that life can hold more than just difficulty and effort. So when you find yourself reaching for the past, when nostalgia arises and you feel drawn to memories of easier or happier times, let it be. Let yourself remember. Let yourself feel the warmth and comfort those memories bring. And then, gently, when you're ready, bring that warmth with you back into the present moment. Carry it forward like a small flame, using it to light your way, to remind you of what's possible, to help you navigate whatever you're facing now with a little more ease, a little more hope, a little more trust that you've been held before and can be held again. The relationship between memory and the senses is profound and intricate. Your senses are not just passive receivers of information about the world, they're deeply involved in how you encode, store, and retrieve memories. Every experience you have is filtered through your senses, translated into the language of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. And these sensory elements become part of the memory itself, woven into the fabric of your recollection in ways that can make the past feel startlingly immediate and alive. Smell is perhaps the most evocative sense when it comes to memory. The connection between olfaction and memory is direct and powerful, mediated by brain structures that process both smell and emotion. When you smell something, the information travels quickly to areas like the amygdala and hippocampus, regions intimately involved in emotional processing and memory formation. This means that smells can trigger memories with remarkable vividness and emotional intensity. You might walk past a bakery and catch the scent of fresh bread, and suddenly you're 7 years old again, standing in your grandmother's kitchen, feeling the warmth of the oven and the sense of being cared for. The memory arrives complete, not just as an idea of the past, but as an experience that feels almost real, almost present. The smell has unlocked something deep, bringing forward not just the facts of the memory, but the feeling of it, the atmosphere, the sense of being there. These scent-triggered memories are often called Proustian memories, named after the French writer Marcel Proust, who famously wrote about how the taste of a Madeleine cookie dipped in tea brought back powerful childhood memories. In his writing, he describes how the sensory experience created a kind of time travel, collapsing the distance between past and present, allowing him to feel connected to his younger self in a profound and moving way. This phenomenon is not just literary or poetic, it's a real feature of how memory works. Smells can access memories that you might not be able to retrieve through conscious effort, memories that have been dormant for years or decades. The sensory trigger bypasses conscious recall and goes directly to the memory, pulling it forward with all its associated feelings and details intact. This is why certain smells can feel so nostalgic, why they can move you so deeply, why they can make you feel like you've been transported through time. But smell is not the only sense involved in nostalgic memory. Sound also plays a powerful role, particularly music. Songs you loved during formative periods of your life often become deeply connected to the memories from those times. The music you listened to as a teenager, the songs that played during important moments, the albums you wore out through repeated listening, these become tied to your sense of self from that period, linked to the friendships, experiences, and feelings that characterize that time. When you hear one of these songs years later, it can bring back not just memories of specific events, but a whole sense of what it felt like to be you then. The emotions you felt, the concerns that mattered to you, the way you understood yourself and the world, all of this can come flooding back, carried on the melody and rhythm of a song you haven't heard in years. Music has this remarkable ability to encode and retrieve emotional states, to capture something essential about a time and place, and make it accessible again through sound. Visual memories also contribute to nostalgia, though perhaps in a slightly different way. Photographs are obviously powerful triggers for nostalgic recall, allowing you to see what people and places look like, to remember moments that might otherwise have faded. But even without photographs, visual memories can be quite vivid. You might remember the color of a room, the pattern of sunlight through trees, the way someone's face looked when they smiled, the specific shade of blue in a summer sky. These visual details add texture to nostalgic memories, making them feel more concrete and real. They provide something for your mind to hold on to, a way of anchoring the memory in sensory experience rather than just abstract knowledge. And when you recall these visual details, you're not just thinking about the past, you're in some sense seeing it again, recreating the visual experience internally, allowing yourself to inhabit that remembered space. Touch, too, plays a role in nostalgic memory, though it's perhaps subtler than the other senses. You might remember the texture of a favourite blanket from childhood, the feeling of grass under your bare feet, the warmth of someone's hand in yours. These tactile memories can be deeply comforting, connecting you to physical experiences of safety, pleasure, or connection. The body remembers in its own way, and these bodily memories can be evoked by similar tactile experiences in the present, creating unexpected moments of nostalgic recall. Taste is another powerful sensory trigger, closely related to smell. Certain foods can transport you back to specific times and places, activating memories of family meals, holiday celebrations, or everyday rituals. The taste of a particular dish your mother used to make, the flavour of candy you loved as a child, the specific way coffee tastes when you're on vacation, all of these can become bound up with memories, so that tasting them again brings the associated experiences flooding back. What's particularly interesting about sensory-triggered memories is how automatic and effortless they are. You don't have to try to remember, the memory simply arrives, called forth by the sensory experience. This suggests that the connection between sensation and memory is deeply embedded in how your brain organizes information, that sensory experiences serve as powerful cues for memory retrieval even when you're not consciously trying to remember anything. This automatic quality also means that you can be surprised by nostalgic memories, caught off guard by a scent or sound that brings back something you hadn't thought about in years. These surprise memories can be quite moving, offering unexpected gifts, reminders of experiences and feelings you'd forgotten you carried. They reveal the richness of your inner life, the vast stores of memory that exist beneath conscious awareness, ready to emerge when the right trigger presents itself. The sensory richness of nostalgic memories also explains why they can feel so much more vivid than other kinds of memories. When you remember a fact, when you recall information you learned, the memory is largely abstract, disconnected from sensory experience. But nostalgic memories are embodied, grounded in the sensory reality of what it was like to be present for that experience. You're not just thinking about the past, you're in some sense feeling it again, experiencing echoes of the original sensory input that defined that moment. This embodied quality makes nostalgic memories particularly powerful for emotional regulation. When you're feeling disconnected or overwhelmed, when you need grounding or comfort, turning toward a sensory-rich, nostalgic memory can provide a kind of anchor. You're reminded of what it feels like to be safe, to be held, to be at ease, and this feeling, accessed through memory, can help calm your nervous system, can remind your body of what relaxation and safety feel like. You can even cultivate this intentionally, though gently. When you're resting, when you want to ease into sleep, you might allow yourself to remember a place where you felt deeply peaceful. Not just thinking about it abstractly, but remembering the sensory details. What did it look like? What sounds were present? What did the air feel like on your skin? What smells do you associate with that place? By engaging the sensory dimensions of the memory, you allow yourself to inhabit it more fully, to feel the peace and safety it held, to let those feelings settle into your body now. This is not escapism or avoidance. It's simply using memory as a resource, drawing on past experiences of safety and peace to help create those feelings in the present. Your nervous system doesn't always distinguish clearly between remembered experience and current experience, especially when the memory is vivid and sensory-rich. So by remembering deeply, by engaging all your senses in the recollection, you can actually shift your current emotional and physical state, moving toward the calm and comfort that the memory holds. And this is one of the beautiful gifts of nostalgic memory, that it's not just about looking backward, but about bringing something forward. The past reaches into the present, offering its warmth, its safety, its sense of being held. And in receiving this offering, in allowing yourself to be touched by memory, you're not leaving the present behind, you're enriching it, bringing resources from your own history to bear on your current experience, using what has been to support what is. So as you rest now, as your mind perhaps wanders toward memory, let it wander. Let yourself remember not just with thoughts, but with senses. What do you hear in that remembered place? What do you smell? What do you see? Let the memory become vivid, textured, alive. And let whatever feelings arise from that remembering be exactly as they are, warmth or longing or a gentle peace. These feelings are yours, drawn from your own experience, and they're here now to comfort you, to remind you of who you've been and what you've known, to help you rest a little more deeply in the safety of this present moment. Human beings are fundamentally social creatures. Your sense of self, your understanding of who you are, develops in relationship with others. From the moment you're born, you're embedded in social contexts, shaped by interactions with family, friends, communities, and many of your most meaningful experiences, the ones that matter most to you and that you return to most often in memory, involve other people. This social dimension is central to nostalgia. When you feel nostalgic, you're often remembering times of connection, moments when you felt part of something larger than yourself. You remember childhood with siblings, adolescent friendships, family gatherings, romantic relationships, shared experiences that created bonds and reinforced your sense of belonging. These memories are precious not just because they were pleasant, but because they remind you that you're not alone, that you've been seen and known and valued by others, that your life has been woven together with other lives in meaningful ways. Research on nostalgia consistently finds this social element. When people are asked what makes them feel nostalgic, they overwhelmingly mention relationships, people they've known and cared about, times they've spent with others. Even memories that don't explicitly involve other people often carry social meaning, a place you visited with someone, an object someone gave you, an activity you learned from someone else. The social threads run through nearly everything, connecting your experiences to the people who shared them or made them possible. This makes sense when you consider how deeply social connection affects your well-being. Humans need connection, need to feel that they belong, that they matter to others, that they're part of communities and relationships that provide support and meaning. When these needs are met, you feel secure, valued, capable of navigating life's challenges. When they're not met, when you feel isolated or disconnected, your well-being suffers, stress increases, resilience decreases, life feels harder and less meaningful. Nostalgic memories of social connection serve as reminders that you've experienced belonging, that you have a history of relationships and community. Even if your current circumstances involve isolation or loneliness, even if you're far from the people who matter most to you, the memories confirm that connection is possible, that you've known it before and can presumably know it again. This confirmation can be deeply comforting, providing hope and reassurance during times when connection feels absent or difficult to access. There's also something about shared memories that creates or reinforces social bonds. When you reminisce with someone else about experiences you both lived through, when you say, "Remember when," and the other person lights up with recognition, you're engaging in a kind of social ritual that affirms your connection. You're acknowledging shared history, confirming that you both carry these same experiences, that you're linked by a common past. This shared remembering can strengthen relationships, creating a sense of intimacy and continuity. Families often do this, telling stories about shared experiences, about things that happened when children were young or when the family lived in a different place or during holidays and celebrations. These stories become part of the family's collective memory, a shared narrative that defines the family's identity and reinforces bonds across generations. And participating in this collective remembering, even just listening to stories about times before you were born or events you were too young to remember clearly, gives you a sense of being part of something larger, of belonging to a lineage and a history that extends beyond your individual experience. Friendships, too, are often built on shared experiences and shared memories. You remember times you spent together, adventures you had, difficulties you navigated, jokes only you understand, moments that bonded you. And these memories become part of what makes the friendship meaningful, evidence of your connection, reminders of why this person matters to you. When you feel nostalgic for a friend, you're often remembering not just the person, but the quality of connection you shared, the feeling of being understood and accepted, the ease of being together. Romantic relationships carry this even more intensely. The early days of a relationship, when everything feels new and heightened and full of possibility, often become powerful sources of nostalgia. You remember the first time you met, the early conversations, the first kiss, the moments when you realized this person was special. These memories glow with a particular brightness because they mark the beginning of something significant, the formation of a bond that would shape your life. And returning to them in memory allows you to reconnect with the excitement and tenderness of that beginning, to remember what drew you together, to affirm the depth of your connection. But nostalgia for relationships can also be bittersweet, especially when relationships have ended or changed. You might remember a friendship that faded, a loved one who has passed away, a romantic relationship that didn't work out. The memories still carry warmth, still remind you of connection and meaning, but they're also tinged with loss, with awareness that this particular relationship no longer exists in the form it once did. This bittersweet quality doesn't diminish the value of the memories. If anything, it deepens it, adding layers of meaning and emotional complexity. When you remember someone you've lost, whether through death or distance or simply the natural drifting apart that sometimes happens, you're engaging in a kind of continued relationship with them. They're not present physically, but they remain present in memory, in the stories you tell about them, in the ways they shaped you, and the mark they left on your life. This continued presence can be comforting, a way of keeping the person with you even though they're gone, honouring the connection you shared even though it can't continue in the same way. There's also something about nostalgia that can reconnect you to lost parts of yourself, parts that were called forth or developed in particular relationships. You might remember who you were when you were with a certain friend, how you laughed more easily, how you felt braver, how certain aspects of your personality came forward more fully. The friend might be gone now, but the memory reminds you that you still contain those qualities, that they're part of you even if they're not currently active. And this reminder can be an invitation to reconnect with those parts of yourself, to find ways to express them in your current life, even without the relationship that originally drew them out. Nostalgia for social connection can also highlight changes in yourself, showing you how you've grown or shifted over time. You remember how you related to people when you were younger, the kinds of friendships you sought out, the ways you showed up in relationships. And comparing that to how you relate now, you can see patterns of growth, areas where you've developed more maturity or wisdom or capacity for intimacy. This recognition can be affirming, showing you that you've learned, that you've evolved, that you're not the same person you were then, and that this change represents development rather than loss. At the same time, nostalgia can sometimes reveal aspects of past relationships that you miss, qualities of connection that you had then but don't have now. Maybe you had more time for friends, less caught up in work and responsibilities. Maybe you were part of a close-knit community, surrounded by people who knew you well. Maybe you had a relationship characterized by a particular kind of playfulness or depth that you haven't found again. These recognitions can be useful, not as sources of regret, but as information about what you value, what you might want to cultivate or seek out in your current life. The social dimension of nostalgia, then, serves multiple purposes. It reminds you of connection and belonging, provides comfort during times of isolation, affirms the significance of relationships in your life, allows continued connection with people no longer present, reveals aspects of yourself that were expressed in particular relationships, and highlights what you value in social connection. All of these functions contribute to your sense of being a social being, someone whose life is fundamentally intertwined with others, whose identity and experiences are shaped by relationships, who finds meaning in connection and community. And perhaps this is one of nostalgia's most important gifts, that it refuses to let you forget your social nature. Even when you're alone, even when connection feels distant or difficult, nostalgia reminds you that you've been part of something, that you've known the warmth of belonging, that relationships have shaped you and will continue to shape you. You're not isolated, not fundamentally separate, but part of a vast web of connection that extends through time, linking you to everyone you've ever known and everyone who has ever mattered to you. So when you remember with warmth, when you feel that nostalgic pull toward people from your past, let yourself feel it fully. Let yourself remember the connections, the moments of intimacy and understanding, the times you felt truly seen and valued. These memories are part of your social history, evidence of your capacity for connection, reminders that you're not meant to navigate life entirely alone. And in honoring these memories, in allowing yourself to be touched by them, you're also honoring the human need for connection, the deep truth that you're part of something larger, part of a social fabric that holds you even when you can't see all its threads. There's a particular quality to nostalgia that sets it apart from pure happiness or pure sadness. It's bittersweet, carrying both warmth and ache, both gratitude and longing. When you feel nostalgic, you're remembering something good, something that brought you joy or comfort or meaning. And this remembering brings positive emotion, a sense of appreciation for what you experienced, gladness that it was part of your life. But alongside this positivity, there's also awareness that the experience is over, that you can't return to it, that it belongs to a past that no longer exists. And this awareness brings a touch of sadness, a gentle mourning for what's been lost. This bittersweet quality is not a flaw or a problem. It's actually part of what makes nostalgia so rich and meaningful. If you only felt happy when remembering the past, the emotion would be simpler, but perhaps less profound. And if you only felt sad, the past would feel like pure loss, something to avoid rather than return to. But the combination of happiness and sadness creates something more complex, more textured, more true to the reality of being human in time. The happiness comes from gratitude, from recognizing that you've had good experiences, that your life has contained moments worth treasuring. You're glad these things happened, grateful that you were there to experience them, thankful for the people and places and circumstances that made them possible. This gratitude is genuine and important. It affirms that your life has had value, that you've known joy and connection and beauty, that your experiences have been meaningful. The sadness comes from loss, from recognizing that everything is temporary, that moments pass and can't be recovered, that people change or leave or die, that time moves forward whether you're ready or not. This sadness is also genuine and important. It reflects your capacity to care, to attach meaning to experiences and relationships, to value things enough that their passing matters to you. Without this capacity for sadness, you would be unable to truly appreciate what you have while you have it. The sadness is the price of caring, and it's worth paying because caring is what makes life meaningful. Together, the happiness and sadness create a complex emotional experience that feels adult, mature, wise. You're not denying reality, not pretending that good things last forever or that loss doesn't hurt. You're holding both truths simultaneously, that life is beautiful and that it's fleeting, that love is precious and that it always involves the risk of loss. This is bittersweet awareness, the understanding that joy and sorrow are not opposites, but partners, two sides of the same coin, inseparable aspects of a life fully lived. This bittersweet quality also invites a particular kind of tenderness, both toward yourself and toward the experiences you're remembering. When you feel nostalgic, you're often looking back with compassion, seeing your younger self with gentleness, appreciating what you didn't fully appreciate at the time. You might remember moments of innocence, times when you didn't yet know certain things, when life seemed simpler, or when you approached things with more openness and less fear. And in remembering, you feel tender toward that younger self, protective almost, wishing you could reach back and tell them it will be okay, that they're doing fine, that they're loved. This tenderness can extend to others as well, to the people who shared those experiences with you. You might remember them with fondness and appreciation, seeing their goodness and their flaws with equal clarity, accepting them as they were rather than as you might have wished them to be. The passage of time often softens judgment, allowing you to see people more fully, more compassionately, with less need for them to be perfect and more appreciation for their simple humanity. The bittersweet quality of nostalgia also creates a kind of poignancy, a sense of the preciousness and fragility of life. When you're reminded that everything is temporary, that moments pass and people leave and nothing stays the same, you're also reminded to pay attention, to notice what's here now, to appreciate it while it's still available. This awareness doesn't have to be morbid or depressing. It can actually be life-affirming, a recognition that because things are temporary, they're all the more precious, all the more worth savouring and celebrating. Some philosophers and contemplative traditions emphasize this understanding, suggesting that awareness of impermanence is not something to avoid, but something to embrace. When you fully accept that everything changes, that nothing lasts forever, you can engage with life more fully, more presently, less caught up in trying to hold on to things or prevent them from changing. You can simply be with what is, appreciating it for what it offers in this moment, knowing that this too will pass, and that this very impermanence is what makes it worth noticing. Nostalgia cultivates this awareness in a gentle way. You don't have to study philosophy or practice meditation to understand impermanence. You simply have to remember. The fact that you can look back at times that felt permanent and see that they weren't, that everything eventually changed, this teaches you at a visceral level that the same will be true of your present circumstances. Whatever you're experiencing now, good or difficult, will eventually pass. This too is temporary, and knowing this can bring both comfort and urgency. Comfort because difficult times won't last forever, and urgency because neither will the good times, so you might as well appreciate them while they're here. The ache in nostalgia, the gentle sadness that accompanies the warmth, is not something to push away or fix. It's actually part of what makes the emotion valuable. It's the acknowledgement that things mattered, that you cared, that experiences and relationships had significance. If you didn't feel the ache, if nostalgia was purely pleasant, it would suggest a kind of emotional superficiality, a failure to fully engage with the reality of loss and change. The ache is evidence that you're allowing yourself to feel fully, to hold complexity, to be present with the full range of what it means to be human in time. And there's something beautiful in being willing to feel that ache. It suggests courage, openness, a refusal to protect yourself so thoroughly that you become numb. You're allowing yourself to be touched by memory, to feel both its warmth and its sadness, to experience the full texture of what it means to remember. This willingness is a kind of vulnerability, and vulnerability, though it can feel uncomfortable, is actually where connection and meaning live. When you protect yourself from feeling loss, you also protect yourself from feeling love, from feeling joy, from feeling the full richness of your emotional life. So the bittersweet quality of nostalgia invites you to practice holding both joy and sorrow, both gratitude and loss. It teaches you that emotions don't have to be pure or simple to be valuable. The complexity is actually more honest, more true to the reality of lived experience. And it offers you a way to be with the past that's neither purely celebratory nor purely mournful, but something more nuanced, more mature, more capable of holding the full truth of what it means to have lived and loved and lost and continued forward. As you rest now, as you allow memories to surface and bring whatever emotions they bring, let yourself experience the full range. If warmth arises, welcome it. If sadness comes alongside the warmth, welcome that too. Don't try to push away the ache or cling too tightly to the sweetness. Just let both be present. Let them coexist in the spacious awareness of your mind, and notice how they don't actually contradict each other. They belong together, two aspects of one experience, both necessary, both true, both part of what makes nostalgia such a profound and meaningful emotion. And in experiencing this, in allowing yourself to feel the bittersweet quality fully, you're practicing something that serves you well beyond nostalgic memory. You're learning to hold complexity, to be present with mixed emotions, to accept that life contains both joy and sorrow, and that neither negates the other. This capacity, this willingness to feel everything without needing to fix or resolve or simplify, is a form of wisdom. And it's a wisdom that grows naturally from the simple act of remembering with an open heart. Beyond providing comfort and connection, beyond creating that bittersweet warmth, nostalgia also serves a more subtle psychological function. It helps regulate your emotional state, offering a way to manage difficult feelings and restore a sense of balance when things feel overwhelming. This regulatory function is not something you typically do, consciously or deliberately. It happens naturally, as part of how your mind takes care of itself, reaching for resources when it needs them. When you're feeling down, when sadness or loneliness or discouragement has settled over you, your mind often turns toward nostalgic memories. This is not random. It's your psychological system recognizing that you need comfort, that you need to be reminded of positive experiences and feelings, that you need evidence that better states of mind are possible. The nostalgic memory provides this, offering a dose of positive emotion that can help lift your mood, or at least make the difficult emotion more bearable. Research on nostalgia has explored this regulatory function in various ways. Studies find that when people are feeling lonely, nostalgic memories of social connection can ease that loneliness, reminding them that they've known belonging and can presumably find it again. When people are feeling anxious about the future, nostalgic memories can provide a sense of continuity and stability, showing them that they've navigated uncertainty before and survived. When people are questioning their sense of meaning or purpose, nostalgic memories can remind them of values they hold, experiences that have mattered, reasons their life feels significant. This regulatory function works partly because nostalgic memories are typically positive. Your mind isn't randomly pulling up any old memory when you need comfort. It's specifically accessing memories that bring warmth, that remind you of good times, that offer something nourishing. This is the selectivity of memory working in your favor, emphasizing positive elements, creating resources you can draw on when you need them. But the regulation isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's also about perspective. Nostalgic memories remind you that your current state is not all you're capable of feeling, that you've experienced a range of emotions throughout your life, that difficult states are temporary and will eventually shift. This perspective can reduce the intensity of negative emotions, not by making them disappear, but by putting them in context, showing them as part of a larger pattern rather than as the whole of your experience. When you're anxious, for example, the anxiety can feel all-consuming, as though this is how you've always felt and how you'll always feel. But nostalgic memory can interrupt this by reminding you of times when you weren't anxious, when you felt calm or happy or peacefully engaged with life. This doesn't erase the current anxiety, but it does suggest that anxiety is not your permanent state, not who you fundamentally are, just a current experience that will eventually pass as other experiences have passed before it. Similarly, when you're feeling disconnected or alone, nostalgic memories of connection remind you that isolation is not your natural state, that you've known and been known by others, that you have capacity for relationship and belonging. Again, this doesn't immediately solve the loneliness, but it offers hope, evidence that connection is possible, a reminder that you've experienced it before and presumably can again. This regulatory function can be particularly valuable during transitions or periods of uncertainty. When your life is changing, when old structures or routines or relationships are falling away and new ones haven't yet formed, it's easy to feel unmoored, uncertain about who you are or where you're going. Nostalgic memories provide continuity during these times, reminding you that you've been through transitions before, that your identity has remained coherent even as circumstances changed, that you're capable of adapting and finding your way. The sense of continuity that nostalgia provides is psychologically important. Human beings need to feel that there's a coherent self that persists through time, that you're the same person you were yesterday and will be the same person tomorrow, even as you grow and change. Without this sense of continuity, life would feel fragmented, chaotic, impossible to navigate. Nostalgic memory reinforces continuity by connecting your present self to your past selves, showing threads that run through your entire life, values or qualities or patterns that have remained even as everything else shifted. You might remember being a child and realize that certain qualities you had then, curiosity, kindness, a love of nature, whatever they were, are still present in you now. The recognition creates a sense of being one continuous person rather than a series of disconnected selves. And this continuity is comforting, grounding, stabilizing. It tells you that you know yourself, that you can trust yourself, that there's something essential about you that remains even when everything else feels uncertain. Nostalgia also seems to help people cope with existential concerns, with questions about mortality and meaning that can arise during quiet moments or difficult times. When you're confronted with the reality of your own mortality, with the awareness that your life is finite and will eventually end, nostalgia can offer a kind of reassurance. It reminds you that you've lived, that you've had experiences worth remembering, that your life has contained moments of beauty and connection and meaning. Even if life is temporary, even if nothing lasts forever, you've still had these experiences, you've still been part of something, and that matters. This doesn't resolve all existential questions or make mortality less real, but it does affirm that your life has had substance, has been worth living. The memories themselves are evidence of a life that has meaning, experiences that have value, a self that has engaged with the world in ways that created something worth preserving in memory. And this evidence can be deeply reassuring when you're facing questions about whether any of it matters, whether your life has significance, whether your existence has been worthwhile. The regulatory function of nostalgia, then, operates on multiple levels. It provides immediate emotional comfort through positive memories, offers perspective on current difficulties by reminding you of other states and other times, reinforces continuity of self across time and change, and affirms that your life has meaning and value even in the face of mortality and impermanence. All of these functions work together to help you maintain psychological equilibrium, to navigate life's challenges with resilience, to find resources within your own history that can support you in the present. And the beautiful thing is that this all happens naturally, without conscious effort or deliberate strategy. You don't have to decide to use nostalgia for emotional regulation. Your mind does it for you, reaching for memories when you need them, offering comfort and perspective and continuity as part of its basic operation. All you have to do is allow it. Be open to the memories when they arrive. Let them bring what they bring. Trust that your mind knows what it's doing when it turns toward the past. So if you find yourself remembering tonight, if nostalgic feelings arise as you rest, understand that this might be your mind caring for you, offering what you need, helping you regulate whatever you've been feeling, reminding you of your own richness and depth and capacity for joy. Let the memories come. Let them do their quiet work, and trust that in the morning you might feel a little more settled, a little more grounded, a little more able to meet whatever the day brings. One of the interesting paradoxes of nostalgia is that it's a memory of the past experienced in the present. You're not actually returning to those moments. You're here, now, remembering them. And this means that nostalgia is actually a present moment experience, not a past one. The memory belongs to the past, but the feeling of nostalgia, the warmth and longing and tenderness, these belong to, right now, to this moment as you lie here remembering. This might seem like an obvious point, but it's actually quite significant. It means that nostalgia is not about living in the past or escaping the present, even though it sometimes feels that way. It's about bringing the past into the present, using memory as a resource for your current experience, allowing what has been to inform and enrich what is. The past and present are not separate. They're interwoven, with memory serving as the thread that connects them. When you remember nostalgically, you're engaging in a creative act in the present moment. You're reconstructing experience, bringing together fragments of memory, adding feeling and meaning, creating something that exists right now in your consciousness. And this act of remembering can itself be pleasurable, meaningful, valuable, quite apart from whatever happened in the original experience. The remembering is its own experience, one that's happening now and that has its own quality and significance. This present moment quality of nostalgia means that you can relate to it with awareness, with presence, with curiosity about what you're experiencing right now as you remember. You can notice the feelings that arise, the thoughts that accompany the memory, the physical sensations in your body as emotion moves through you. You can be present for the experience of remembering rather than getting entirely lost in the memory itself. This awareness doesn't diminish the nostalgia, it actually enriches it. When you're present with your remembering, when you notice the warmth in your chest as you recall a particular moment, or the slight ache as you recognize something you've lost, you're fully inhabiting the experience. You're not just thinking about the past, you're feeling something now, and being present for that feeling allows you to experience it more fully, more consciously, more deliberately. There's also something important about recognizing that nostalgia happens in the present, which is that it reminds you that you have agency in how you relate to your memories. You can choose, at least to some extent, which memories to dwell on, how long to stay with them, what meaning to make of them. You're not at the mercy of your past. You're engaging with it from the position of your present self, bringing your current understanding and compassion and wisdom to bear on what you remember. This means you can remember with kindness, both toward your past self and toward the people who shared those experiences. You can look back without harsh judgment, without getting caught up in regret or resentment, without needing to fix or change or justify what happened. You can simply remember, allowing experiences to have been what they were, appreciating what was good about them, accepting what was difficult, recognizing that everything that happened contributed to making you who you are now. You can also choose how to use nostalgic memories in your present life. You can let them comfort you when you need comfort, inspire you when you need inspiration, remind you of values or qualities you want to cultivate, show you patterns you want to change. The memories are resources, and you're the one who decides how to draw on them, what lessons to take from them, how to integrate them into your ongoing life. This active engagement with memory is different from passive reminiscence, from simply drifting through memories without awareness or intention. Both have their place. Passive drifting can be deeply relaxing and conducive to sleep, which is perfect for right now. But it's worth knowing that you also have the option of more conscious engagement when that feels appropriate, when you want to use memory deliberately rather than simply letting it wash over you. The present moment quality of nostalgia also means that it's coloured by your current state. How you remember depends partly on how you're feeling now. If you're feeling happy and secure, you might remember with pure warmth, emphasizing the joy and connection of past experiences. If you're feeling sad or lonely, you might remember with more longing, more awareness of what's been lost, more ache alongside the sweetness. The same memory can feel different depending on your current emotional context. This is not a flaw, it's simply how memory works. Your present state influences retrieval, shapes what you notice and emphasize, colors the emotional tone of the memory. And this means that memories are not fixed objects you pull out and examine. They're living experiences that change slightly each time you recall them, adapting to your current needs and circumstances. Understanding this can be freeing. It means you don't have to worry too much about whether your memories are accurate or complete. They don't need to be perfect historical records. They just need to serve you, to offer something valuable, to connect you to your past in ways that support your present. And they will naturally shift and adapt to do this, emphasizing different elements at different times, bringing forward what you need when you need it. It also means that you can trust the memories that arise. If a particular memory comes to mind right now, there's probably a reason, even if you can't articulate what it is. Your mind is offering you something, showing you something, reminding you of something. And even if the connection isn't obvious, even if the memory seems random, it's worth paying attention to, worth being present with, worth allowing to settle into your awareness and see what it brings. As you rest here now, as your mind moves between past and present, between memory and current awareness, notice that movement. Notice how the past arrives in the present, how memory feels in your body right now, how the emotions that arise are happening now, even though they're connected to then. And let yourself be present for this, present for the experience of remembering, present for whatever feelings come, present for the gift your mind is offering you by connecting you to your own history. The present moment is all you ever really have. The past is gone, existing only in memory, and the future hasn't arrived yet, existing only in imagination. But both past and future can be present in this moment, held in memory and anticipation, woven into your current experience. And this is part of what makes the present moment so rich, so full, so worthy of attention. It contains not just what's happening now, but also echoes of what has been and whispers of what might be. Everything is here, available, accessible, if you're present enough to notice. So let the boundaries between past and present soften. Let memory and current experience blend together naturally, without effort, without resistance. Let yourself be here now, remembering, feeling, resting, allowing everything to be exactly as it is. This moment is enough, containing everything you need, offering rest and comfort and the gentle company of your own history, your own experiences, your own life that has brought you to exactly here, exactly now. As we begin to draw toward the close of this gentle exploration, as your mind softens further and sleep draws nearer, let's rest with a few final thoughts about nostalgia, memory, and the strange, beautiful experience of being human in time. These aren't conclusions or answers, just gentle reflections to carry with you into sleep, or to let drift away if that feels better, release like leaves on a quiet stream. Nostalgia feels good. We've explored why, because it connects you to positive experiences, reminds you of belonging and meaning, offers comfort during difficult times, provides continuity across change, helps regulate emotions, affirms that your life has contained goodness. All of these reasons are true, all of these functions are real, but perhaps underneath all of them is something even simpler, something more fundamental. Nostalgia feels good because it's a form of self-compassion, a way of being gentle with yourself, with your history, with all the versions of yourself you've been. When you remember with warmth, you're not criticizing or judging or wishing things had been different. You're simply acknowledging that you've lived, that you've had experiences, that moments have mattered to you. You're treating your own life as worthy of attention, your own experiences as valuable, your own feelings as legitimate and important. This gentle acknowledgement is a kind of love, really, a soft recognition that you're here. You've been here. You've moved through time carrying experiences and relationships and memories that have shaped who you are. And in honouring these memories, in allowing yourself to feel nostalgic, you're honouring yourself, all of yourself, past and present, known and unknown, remembered and forgotten. There's something deeply human about nostalgia, something that connects you to every other person who has ever lived long enough to remember. Everyone knows this feeling, this bittersweet warmth, this reaching back toward moments that no longer exist except in memory. It's a universal experience, one of the ways humans navigate time and change and loss, one of the ways you make sense of your life and find meaning in the accumulated experiences that make up your history. And perhaps this universality is part of why nostalgia feels so good. It reminds you that you're not alone in this experience of being human, of moving through time, of holding memories that glow with a particular light. Everyone carries this, everyone knows this feeling. Everyone reaches back toward their own past, looking for comfort or connection or simply the reassurance that they've lived, that their life has contained moments worth remembering. Your memories are uniquely yours, shaped by your particular experiences and relationships and circumstances. No one else has exactly the same memories you have. No one else has lived exactly your life. But the feeling of nostalgia, the emotional quality of remembering with warmth and longing, this is shared. This connects you to all of humanity across time, all the people who have ever paused to remember, to feel that gentle ache, to appreciate what has been, even as they acknowledge it's gone. So, in feeling nostalgic, you're not just engaging with your personal past, you're participating in something larger, something that connects you to the great human experience of moving through time, of forming attachments and memories, of caring about things enough that their passing leaves a mark. You're part of a vast community of rememberers, all of you looking back with varying degrees of warmth and longing, all of you carrying your histories forward, all of you finding ways to live with the knowledge that everything changes and nothing lasts forever. And maybe that's okay. Maybe the fact that things don't last is exactly what makes them precious, what makes them worth savouring, what makes the memories worth holding. If everything lasted forever, if nothing ever changed, there would be no sweetness in remembering, because there would be no loss, no distance, no transformation. It's the very fact of impermanence that creates the conditions for nostalgia, that makes memory meaningful, that gives the past its particular glow. So the science behind why nostalgia feels good is not just about brain chemistry or psychological function, though those are real and important. It's also about something more poetic, more human, more tied to the basic facts of existence. You live in time, you have experiences, you form attachments, things change, moments pass, and yet somehow you carry them forward, holding them in memory, allowing them to continue nourishing you long after they've ended. This is remarkable, really, this capacity to be touched by the past, to let it reach forward and offer comfort, to use what has been as a resource for what is. And as you rest now, as sleep comes closer, as your conscious mind begins to release its grip and allow deeper states to emerge, know that all of this is still here. All the memories, all the experiences, all the moments that have mattered, they're all still here, held safely in the vast storage of your mind, available whenever you need them, ready to offer warmth and comfort and connection, ready to remind you of who you've been and who you are and who you might yet become. You don't have to hold on to them tightly, don't have to worry about forgetting or losing them. They're part of you, woven into the fabric of your being, and they'll remain even as you sleep, even as you dream, even as you move forward into whatever tomorrow brings. The past is with you always, not as a burden but as a gift, not as something to escape but as something to draw on, a well of experience and feeling that never runs dry, that offers something fresh each time you return to it. So let yourself rest now in the knowledge that you've lived, that you've experienced goodness, that your life has contained moments worth treasuring. Let the memories be there in the background, glowing softly, not demanding attention but simply present, available, offering their quiet comfort. Let yourself feel held by your own history, supported by the accumulated experiences that have brought you to this moment, this bed, this state of rest. And if sleep comes quickly, taking you before these words have ended, that's perfect. The memories will remain, nostalgia will still be there whenever you need it, and the past will continue offering its gifts, whether you're awake or asleep, conscious or dreaming, actively remembering or simply resting in the knowledge that you've been here, you've lived, you've mattered. Thank you for being here tonight, for lending your attention to these gentle reflections on nostalgia and memory, for allowing yourself to remember, to feel, to be present with both the warmth and the ache that come with being human in time. Your willingness to engage with these ideas, to explore your own memories, to feel whatever arises, this is a kind of courage, a willingness to be present with the full texture of your experience. As you move now into sleep, as consciousness softens and thought becomes less linear, less defined, let everything we've explored settle wherever it needs to settle. There's no need to remember any of this in the morning, no need to hold on to ideas or insights or particular memories. Just let it all be part of the gentle flow of your mind as it moves from waking toward sleep, from thought toward dream, from the structured consciousness of day into the softer, stranger consciousness of night. And know that tomorrow, when you wake, you'll still have access to all of this. The memories, the feelings, the capacity for nostalgia, all of it remains, part of your ongoing experience, available whenever you need comfort or connection, or simply a reminder that you've lived a life worth remembering. The past is not gone, not really, because you carry it with you, and it continues to shape and nourish you in ways both obvious and subtle, both conscious and beneath awareness. Rest well tonight, held by your own history, comforted by your own memories, safe in the knowledge that you've experienced goodness and will experience it again. Let nostalgia be your companion as you drift towards sleep, its bittersweet warmth easing you into rest, its gentle acknowledgement of time and change helping you release the day and trust the night. You're exactly where you need to be, carrying everything you've ever been, moving toward everything you might yet become, held always by the continuous thread of your own life, your own experiences, your own irreplaceable journey through time. Sleep well, rest deeply. And when memories visit you in the night, whether in dreams or in the quiet spaces between dreams, welcome them gently, let them bring whatever they bring, and trust that they're part of how your mind cares for you, offering comfort, connection, and the reassuring reminder that you've been here all along, living and loving and mattering, creating the very memories that now hold you as you sleep. Good night.